Guys, it's Tina and I am back, and I am here with a very exciting video for me. It was actually really fun for me to dive into my collection and rediscover some of the products that I have that I haven't touched in a while and that really need to see some more loving from me. And I wanted to just show a part of my collection with you guys. I do want to do more collection centered videos where I show sections of my collection in more detail than an overall collection video. I am going to do an overall collection video in the future, but for now I wanted to show you little portions of my collection so you can just see what I have collected over the years and what I've truly been enjoying. And for this video I wanted to show you my palette collection. And I am going to go through all my palettes, so even the little quads and the smaller palettes to the larger palettes, I'm going to share those with you. The only things that I excluded were customizable palettes, so my Z palettes that contain my Makeup Forever eyeshadows, my Inglot eyeshadows, my Colored Rain eyeshadows, my Anastasia Beverly Hills eyeshadows, and my MAC single eyeshadows. I didn't show them in this video. If you want to see a video showing my customized palettes, then let me know, but for now these are pre-made palettes that are available on the market. Some are limited edition and are no longer available, but if you want to dive into my palette collection with me, then let's jump right into it. Alright guys, so I have quite a few palettes, and I divided them into 3 different drawers in my Alex unit. This is the 6-drawer unit. It is a wide unit and it has 3 shallow drawers and then 3 deeper drawers, and I have my palettes in the 3 deeper drawers, which are the 3 lower drawers, and I have them labeled just here: small palettes, larger palettes. And then here is miscellaneous because I had overflow and I had to move some of my palettes into this lower drawer. Now in the first drawer I have my smaller palettes, and I have them divided by these little organizers. These are from the Container Store. They're just clear drawer dividers. They're in the kitchen section and they're expandable, so you can make them whatever length you need them to be. And I just divided up different sections so they fit the size of the palettes. And we'll just quickly run through the palettes. I don't think you want me to go through each and every one, but we'll see. Since this is going to be a fun collection video that we're going to go through all my palettes, so maybe you want to go through each and every one, but really quickly, I have the Tarte Rainforest of the Sea eyeshadow palette. This one is just a neutral palette. I like the formula of the eyeshadows, but just didn't like the eyeshadows themselves, the color selection, because they weren't diverse enough to get a selection of different looks. Then I have my Bobbi Brown eyeshadow palettes that I built myself, so these are customizable, and I just have my darker shades in this. And I did swatch all of my Bobbi Brown eyeshadows in case you're interested. Here are some of the neutral shades. And then I have my 3 Sugar Pill palettes. This is the Sweetheart palette. I got these when they had just released, so they didn't have the label on it, so I just labeled it myself. This is the Sweetheart palette, as I said, with those shades in it. And on the back I did put the names of the eyeshadows again. I just labeled it myself. I also have the Burning Heart palette, which is the bright bold shades. I love these eyeshadows, and I did pick up a few more that I'm gonna put in their customizable pro palette. This is the Heartbreaker palette, and this one did come with the different labeling and the colors on the back, so that was really good, and that's with those colors. Then I have this Barbie palette from Stila. Do you guys remember this? This is such a memorable palette for me. I didn't even use it. It's really a collectible for me. It has the beautiful shades in trios in each pan, and these shades are really beautiful. A lot of people really love the formula of these eyeshadows, so I kept that. That is a memorable palette for me. Then we have the Stila palettes. This one is the Nouveau Natural eyeshadow palette. This is reminiscent of their 15th anniversary palettes, but this one has 12 of very neutral shades in their collection. I did like this palette. It's a nice palette. And then of course I have the 15th anniversary palette. It's the Mind, Body and Soul palette. This one is the Soul palette, which is just a bunch of their nudes. It's a nice palette. This is the Spirit palette. Again, a lot of neutral shades. And I did post swatches on my blog for these. I just didn't get around to doing a video, but these are really nice eyeshadows. This one is the Mind palette, which is all mattes. This one is kind of hit or miss. I did like it. It's reminiscent of the Viseart Neutral Mattes palette. I did like the eyeshadows. They're just not the best. Like, they don't compare 100% to the Viseart palettes. And then the last one up is the Body palette. I think this one is the flop of the whole collection. There are a couple of shades in here that just don't work out, but then there are a few that are really stunning. So it's kind of a half miss, half hit palette for me. And then in the second row we have all of my Viseart palettes. Now I do have all of the Viseart eyeshadow palettes. I even picked up the most recent one. This one is the Bijou Royale, and it just has pearlized shades in it. Now the Viseart palettes, they do range from all mattes to all shimmers, so there are no palettes with mixes in them. I'm gonna do a review of this one for you guys, but I actually really like the shades. If you're into subtle shimmer, Viseart is the way to go. Neutral mattes, dark mattes. This is the Bridal Satin. This one is the, I don't know, it's either the Sultry Muse or the Paris Muse. This one is the Paris Muse, so this one is the Sultry Muse. And then I have the Cool Mattes. You have the Bright Editorial Mattes. This one is also one of the newer ones. This one is the Boheme Dream. I'm also going to do a review on this one for you guys. I do have the swatches ready to go, so it's just a matter of getting it done. But this is a more bright, shimmery palette. It's not quite neon, but it's shimmery, colorful shades. And then I also have the Brow palette. This one has, yeah, this one is Structure Brow and Eyeshadow palette. So it has eyeshadow shades and a couple of wax shades for your brows. Then I have my Urban Decay The Black palette. Dum dum dum. This palette actually went on sale. It was on clearance at Ulta for like $12 or $15, something like that. But these are just really beautiful shades. I actually really love this palette. They got rid of this palette right before they released the Smoky palette. And then I have two By Terry palettes that I picked up. And this I got with a gift card from, I believe, Barney's. I got a gift card from them, so I did get this palette, which is the Eye Designer 2 Color Design palette. And I believe this one is the Smoky Nudes, yes. And one of them was broken, but I didn't exchange it because, I mean, I did get it with a gift card. And they're just neutral light palettes. They're very expensive palettes. I don't think they're worth the price. They're very expensive. Nice eyeshadows, but just overly priced. This is the Bobbi Brown University Eyes palette. And I do have a swatch video featuring this as well as the rest of my Bobbi Brown eyeshadows. And then I do have this Bobbi Brown customizable palette. I just have 6 of their neutral shades. Again, there is a swatch video for these. And then back here I have 4 Kat Von D palettes. I got rid of most of my Kat Von D palettes like this because I just wasn't using them, and I kept just the memorable ones. This one is the True Romance palette in Angelus, and this one just has colorful shades. I did not use that. This one was just broken, so that's what that is. It has neutral shades and then a couple of blue shades. It's just the one that they had in the white palette, which I really liked, and then they had a second one in the white palette. This one is the Memento Mori palette, and this one also has colorful shades, so it has some pastel shades and some deeper shades. And again, I kept the memorable Kat Von D palettes. This one is the Mi Vida Loca, so this is the first version of the Mi Vida Loca palette, and then she remixed this into the Mi Vida Loca larger palette that was for holiday last year. And then I have the Lady Bird palette, which is just an all matte neutral palette. Actually, I need to pull this guy out because I don't think I ever use this. That's sad, but I never use this. But look at those neutral shades. Look at this one. Oh, I may need to pull you out, sir. So you need to come out and play. Then on this side, I have my MAC Eyes x9 palette. And this is the Amber palette. I have the purple palette. This is the navy palette. I don't really use these. I thought they were going to be bigger. The small eyeshadows just throw me off. The size of the eyeshadows throws me off a lot. I have my Chantecaille Duos. I did show these in a haul. There are just 2 of them here that they're just absolutely beautiful duos. I have a Giorgio Armani duo. Well, no, this is a quad. It's just a neutral quad. This one is the Tuscan Storm palette. And then I have my Charlotte Tilbury palettes here. This is the Sophisticate, the Rebel, and Dolce Vita. So the Sophisticate is just a neutral palette. The Rebel, is this the Rebel? The Rebel is greens. And then Dolce Vita, I think, has like sultry colors in here. Yeah. And then behind those I have my Tom Ford palettes, which are quite a few palettes. I have the Emerald Lust palette, which are beautiful. I think I should do a Tom Ford swatch-a-thon of all their palettes that I have. This one is the Orchid Haze. This is, which one? Coca Mirage, which is probably my favorite one. This is a great neutral palette. And I have quite a few of these, as I said. This one is the Enchanted palette, which is just smoky shades, like a cranberry smoky palette. This one is the Sahara Haze. This one has more greenish tones. And then in the back, this one is the Cognac Sable, which is actually a really beautiful palette as well. I need to pull these out and use them more because they're very expensive and they're very beautiful. So they're definitely worth checking out if you want to check out 1 or 2, but they're very pricey. Just be mindful of that. Over here I have smaller, longer palettes. This one is my Marc Jacobs The Starlet palette. I dug my nail into that one, which sucks, but that's that one. I have the Becca and Jacqueline Hill palette. You guys know that one, right? And then I have the 2 other Becca palettes. This is the Ombre Nude, and this one is the Ombre Rouge palette. Then I have 2 customized Buxom palettes. This is a neutral one, and I think this is a colorful one. I never use these, and I never did a review on these, but yeah, I don't know. Then I have a little Lorac Pro To Go palette. This actually just has 3 shades that work well for my skin tone, so it's just a grab and go palette. It's just one of those little things. Here I have a Bare Minerals palette. This is the Playlist. This came out for holidays one year, and it has those beautiful holiday shades. Their Play eyeshadows are actually really nice. I have the Naked 2 Basics. I didn't get the Naked 1 Basics because it just doesn't go with my complexion, but the Naked 2 Basics was great. The Lorac Matte Pro palette. This was a to-go palette as well, and it just has a few neutral shades to play with. Then we have Makeup Forever. This is the Spring palette, right? This was the Artist, I don't know which one this, I think this is the Spring one. Really nice shadows, and if you're looking to collect Makeup Forever eyeshadows, their palettes are really good options. This is the Tartelette in Bloom palette. Oh, did a review on this. Love this palette. And of course the regular Tartelette palette. Love that as well. And then I have 3 Milani palettes. I actually picked these up to do a drugstore video. Yeah, I never use these, but they look decent. Speaking of, I got some MUA Professional palettes. This one is the Metallic Eye palette and then the Nude palette. These I got at CVS again to do a drugstore palette. These just looked interesting, so I said let me check them out. And then I kept 2 of my Sleek palettes. If you know me, I had a bunch of Sleek palettes. I gave them all away, but I kept the mattes 2 and 1 because I really love the these eye define. So it's the Ultra Mattes version 1 and version 2. I just loved those, so I kept those. And those are some of the drugstore ones that I have available. I don't really use drugstore eyeshadows because they just don't pan out, and I have too much makeup to really try to force myself to use cheaper palettes. I know that sounds a little bit obnoxious, but I have so much makeup that I'm not going to force myself to use things that I'm not truly in love with. Then I have the Kat Von D Shade and Light Quads that recently debuted. I have 3 of those. And then I have the Viseart. These are, what are they called? I don't remember what they're called. The Theory palettes. So I have all 3 of these. And I do have swatches and a review coming up for those as well. But I have those. And those are my smaller eyeshadow palettes that fit in this drawer right here. And then beneath that we have another drawer, but these are larger eyeshadow palettes. And I have quite a few palettes in these, so we'll quickly run through these. We have my Lorac Unzipped palette. Absolutely love that guy. The Lorac Unzipped Gold. I love these 2 palettes. They're two of my favorite palettes, and they don't have parabens, unlike these Lorac Pro palettes. This is the Pro 1, the Pro 2, and then the Pro 3. These have parabens in the formulation, which I don't enjoy at all. Under here I have my Urban Decay Moondust palette, which I absolutely love. I do have an older Anastasia Beverly Hills palette. This is the Amrezy palette, which was the first one that I got from Anastasia Beverly Hills. I just didn't like the small eyeshadow pan size, which is why I don't really love palettes. I don't like small eyeshadow pans. Then I have the Narcissist palette. This one, again, small eyeshadow pans. These eyeshadows just didn't live up to what I expect from NARS with their quality, so I didn't really get a lot of use out of this palette. I don't think you can get this anymore. This was limited edition. And then of course I have the Narcissist palette with the dual intensity eyeshadows. Love these. And getting into some Urban Decay, I have my Urban Decay Electric palette. Love this palette as well. If you're looking for a bright, bold palette, this is a great one to have. I have the Smashbox Full Exposure palette, which I actually liked quite a bit, but I wasn't completely in love with it. Then I have the Sephora Pantone Universe. This is the Marsala palette. This one came out, I think 2 years ago. Yeah, 2 years ago. This was such a beautiful palette. I love the shades in this palette. They do have small pans as well, but had a great selection of colors. And these colors actually work a lot better for me than the Anastasia Beverly Hills Modern Renaissance palette. I have the Gwen Stefani blush palette in here, which I probably should move down to the 3rd drawer. And of course the Urban Decay and Gwen Stefani eyeshadow palette. Then in the middle we have the IT Cosmetics Naturally Pretty Celebration palette. This one has a beautiful selection of colors. These are very light colors though, so if you're into very subtle, very neutral looks, this is a good palette to have, and it has good ingredients in the eyeshadows. Then we have the Naked palettes. I have the Naked 3, which is the Rose Gold palette. Naked 2, which is this palette here, which had decent colors. Actually, this one is my favorite out of the Naked 1, 2, and 3. This one would be my favorite one. The original Naked palette. You know what? I do like this one as well as the Naked 2. Those were good palettes. And then of course we have my ultimate favorite Naked palette. This is the Smoky, which this one is my favorite of all 4 of the Naked palettes. I really love these shades. I have this Japanesque palette. This one is called the Pixelated Color Collection. They have basic shades and then they have pixelated shadows here that are kind of almost like a Moondust shadow from Urban Decay, but it has more shadow and less glitter. I actually really like these, and they're baked so you can use them wet as well. So that one I recently picked up, but it was really beautiful. I also have the Kat Von D Shade and Light Eye palette. This was given to us at the makeup show press event, so really thankful for this. I haven't used it a lot and I still need to do a review on this, so let me know if you want to see this in a review. Of course, the Too Faced Sweet Peach palette that I had to hunt down. This one was limited edition, but I hear that it will make its debut for the Christmas time, the holiday season, so check it out if you want to get your hands on it. It's a decent palette, not thrilled about it, but you know, whatevs. Then you have the original chocolate bar palette. This is in the bulkier packaging. And I actually really love this palette. It's such a good palette. Then of course I have the semi-sweet chocolate bar, which I didn't fall in love with. I think the original is still my favorite one, but this was decent. The blue shade and this pink shade are just complete flops for me. And then you have the chocolate bonbons palette, which I actually won on Ipsy, and this one I actually liked as well. This one was a nice neutral palette and I did like it. Then back here I have two of my L'Oreal La Palette Nude 1 and 2 palettes. These are again drugstore palettes that I was gonna do a review on, didn't get around to it, and I wasn't forcing myself to use them either. Now on this side we have some of my newer palettes. This is the Illamasqua Rose Gold palette that I absolutely love. This is the Makeup Forever Artist 15 palette, which was sent to me, and I absolutely love this one again. If you're trying to collect eyeshadows from Makeup Forever, it's a good option to get their palettes. This palette, really love the shadows in this. I have the Smoked palette from Urban Decay. I really like this packaging. It's like a zippered packaging. And this one was really great as well. I really love the shades in this, and they got rid of this when they were releasing the Smoky palette. But oh my god, these shades, so good. Mushroom, such a good shade. Loaded, also a really good shade, but they have these available in singles if you're interested. Then of course I have my Anastasia Beverly Hills Self-Made palette, which is probably my favorite palette from Anastasia Beverly Hills. This was such a beautiful palette. It's still a beautiful palette. I just wish it was permanent over the Modern Renaissance one. I have this Laura Mercier Artist palette. All their artist palettes tend to be very similar, but I have this one and they have really good shades in this as well. They have good quality eyeshadows. Then the IT Cosmetics Naturally Pretty regular palette. This one is like the Celebration palette. It's a very neutral wearable palette. Good ingredients, but it's a very subtle, like I mean very subtle palette. Like you're gonna barely get anything, but if you're into very simple subtle looks, that'll be good for you. Then of course we have the Anastasia Beverly Hills Modern Renaissance palette. The colors just don't look good on my skin. I just don't know, it just doesn't work for me. I got this sent to me. This is the IT Cosmetics Superhero palette. I have to play around with this guy and see what it's all about. It has, again, neutral shades, but these are a little bit more amped up than the Naturally Pretty palette. So I'm hoping this has a better formula with more color payoff, but I'll let you guys know. Then I have my Urban Decay Vice palette. I believe this is Vice 2 because I know I didn't get Vice 1. Or is this Vice 1 and I didn't get Vice 2? Something to that effect, but this is a beautiful palette. Oh yeah, I think this is the original one. I'm not sure. I don't know. Then this is another Vice palette. Why don't they have the numbers on these? So I have that Vice palette right there, and then I have a Borghese eyeshadow palette still in its box. I actually never opened this palette. This was sent to me as well. It's a neutral palette, and it's very reminiscent of the Urban Decay Naked palette. So they look like very nice eyeshadows, but I just never use them at all. They look pretty decent. So I should probably just take that out of its box so I can know to get my hands in there and use it as I put it back in its box and put it back in the back of the drawer. And then of course we have the Serpentina palette from Kat Von D, which I absolutely love the concept, love the shades, how they look, but the performance just fell flat for Kat Von D, especially when she has such great metal eyeshadows. Then in the bottom drawer I just had some overflow of palettes. These are some single eyeshadows, don't mind those, but I have my Vice 2 palette, so I did get Vice 2. So maybe those are Vice 3 and 4, but this is Vice 2, which they have beautiful eyeshadows. I do love some of the Urban Decay eyeshadows. I love their single formulas, and there's some of their shimmery palettes that I really love, like this one. This one is the Spectrum palette. This is a beautiful jewel tone palette. Oh my god, and it went on sale too. What? You could have gotten this for like $25 or $15. Like what? Why didn't you get it? I did a swatch video of these. These shadows, let me tell you, listen, I know this is one of the best palettes that Urban Decay ever released. And then they have their 15th anniversary palette, which is actually a really good palette as well. This is years and years ago, but they have some beautiful shades in this, and some of these shades actually became permanent shades because they were so popular in this palette. Like Deep End, shut your mouth. Deep End is so beautiful. But these two palettes just fit better in there. Then I have my Jaclyn Hill, of course. The face palette, love those. I actually really like the face palette, to be honest with you. And then I have some this is not even supposed to be in here, but this is just a contour palette with 4 of their shades. And then I have my MAC blush palettes. I did a full swatch video of these blushes already, but this is my favorite 4 and love them, so I just have those there. I went ahead and grabbed some larger palettes that just sit on top of one of my drawer sets. And these are larger palettes that don't really fit inside the drawers. So I have them just organized and stacked on a little book divider. This is the Kat Von D Mi Vida Loca palette that I mentioned before. This is the remix of the original Mi Vida Loca palette. Beautiful palette for holiday. I have the Laura Mega 2 Pro palette. However they want to say it. Pro Mega 2 palette, no blah blah blah. Pro Mega 2. I have this Kat Von D palette. This was from Holiday 2. This is the Spellbinding eyeshadow book. Oh my god, some of these shades are so freaking pretty, and you get tons of different colors here, so it's really a beautiful palette here. Then I have her Kat Von D. This is such a long time ago when she used to do the book designs. And this one is, which palette was this? The Tattoo Chronicles edition, Candelabra edition. So you open it up like a book. There are a couple of pages in there. And then the actual eyeshadows, if I could get them, were so beautiful. Some beautiful shades here. And this is so expired, but I always loved this book design, so I kept this one for memories. And they had a little perfume right here, but I love these shades as well. And then I have my Alice Through the Looking Glass palette from Urban Decay. If you want to see a review of this, let me know. I know it was limited edition, so I don't even know, is it still available? Yeah, so those are all of my palettes. I do have a lot of customized palettes, so I have palettes from Makeup Forever that I built myself. So I have all the Makeup Forever eyeshadows. And I also have palettes like this. This is my Inglot palettes. This is the neutral and purples and pinks, and then the colorful shades. So I have customized palettes, but I don't think you guys want to see those. It's not like you can go ahead and just grab those off the shelf. Those are actually palettes that I built myself. So if you want to see my customized palettes, let me know as well, and I can do those for you. And I think I'll just show you a couple of palettes that I haven't hauled yet, but I just got them in. These are the Juvia's Place palettes. I don't know how I feel about Juvia's Place yet. I'm still trying to figure out if they're black owned. This is the Juvia's, the Nubian 1, the Nubian 2, and then I have the Masquerade palette. These are made in the Republic of China, so they're made in China. These are stock palettes, meaning that they are just private label palettes or eyeshadow formulas. It's not a proprietary formula or anything, but I'm still trying to figure out how I feel about Juvia's Place as a company, and I'm trying to figure out if they're black owned or they're just using the black theme and the Egyptian theme and the Nubian theme. I don't know how I feel about them. They popped up out of nowhere and I just don't know where they're coming from, so there's that. But these are all my eyeshadow palettes. Hopefully this was a fun video for you guys to go through some of my collection with me. I know I didn't go in depth with any of the eyeshadow palettes. I was really just going through the palettes just to show you what I do have. And I got rid of quite a few palettes. My friends and my family are really happy because I did a huge declutter that I didn't even film. I just did it and got rid of a lot of makeup. I got rid of a lot of expired things that I wasn't using, So I tossed some, I donated some, and then I passed on quite a lot to family and friends. So let me know if there are any eyeshadow palettes that I haven't reviewed yet that you guys might be interested in or you want to see looks of. And then let me know also what other little parts of my collection you want to see. So do you want to see pigments? Do you want to see single eyeshadows, lipsticks? Let me know what you guys want to see and I'll see if I can film those for you. And again, let me know if you want to see my customized palette, which should be pretty quick because they're Makeup Forever eyeshadow palettes, and those I can probably do a little bit more in depth since they're a little bit more customized and you might want to see a little bit more detail in those videos. So thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this video, and as usual I'll try to link as many of the palettes that I mentioned in this video. Probably not all of it because the description box will get filled up really quickly, but I'll fill out what I can and then I'll leave links to my Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook where you should definitely be following me along so you can keep up with the dirt while I'm not on YouTube. And thank you guys so much for your support and love and kind words, and until my next video, which will be very soon, I'll talk to you. Bye guys!